My name's Emily Cohen. I live in Williamsburg, Massachusetts. We have a 34-acre parcel here. We were notified that as abutters, we could attend this proposal meeting, a solar field being put in on the forestry land behind our house. It was a very slick presentation. We were assured that all our concerns would be, taken into account. The site where the solar field was planned, and I think it's a 17-acre solar field, was located right above our property. So any water that came down from the solar panels would come through our property and towards the Mill River. So there were concerns about wetland and stormwater management, and that was all written up in the plans that the install company was supposed to use as a guide.
Yeah, they've been trucking in.
So this was a really deep. This is where the trees have fallen. Yeah, they were like 30 big trees that were all just across. There was no kind of officially informing us that major damage had happened on our property. We just happened to find out. And basically they had set up a big, huge drainage pipe from their solar field up above that concentrated all the stormwater into this one pipe. It just went pouring down, ripping through our property towards the river, and on the way creating these very deep chasms. Our trees just fell into these chasms, maybe 30 trees in one chasm, plus there were 2 or 3 other chasms. And then the water and the sand all got deposited down in this wetland area on the way to the river, and then a lot of the sand also went into the river. By the time we found out that it had even happened, the Department of Environmental Protection had been notified and was involved. Eventually it went to the Attorney General's office and the case got even bigger. It came to light that there were multiple violations that led to that event. Most of those violations involved Dynamic Energy, who was the solar install company, not following the written plan for stormwater management. But in addition, there were some violations on the part of Hull Forestry, who's the landowner that was leasing the solar field out. They, quote unquote, removed all marketable sand prior to installing the solar panels. So that made it even more likely that it was just going to be excess runoff heading down onto our property and the river. We were basically told by DEP there was going to need to be all kinds of remediation of our land and the damage to take away all the deep deposits of sand on the wetland. Ted spoke to them and said, you need to come and do some independent monitoring of the remediation here. And then he also said, while we're at it, could you try to prevent this happening in Amherst, Shutesbury, Pelham? Is there anything you can do? And he was like, no, we don't have any jurisdiction over forests, only river and wetland, and we don't get involved until there's been a violation. They have to wait for the disaster to get involved. That's how the system works. Which led us to wonder, is there somebody else that's in charge of protecting the forests if it's not them? It's been very invasive. There's flags everywhere, and there were pipes everywhere, and rebar, and people having access to come on the land whenever they want, and workmen, and so it's been a significant, it's interfered significantly with our enjoyment of the land and the woods. We had really clear things that we were okay with and not okay with, like we didn't want really massive equipment in the woods.
It was supposed to be a 6-foot bobcat, but that's what they brought.
And it seems like things got lost in the process as far as our wishes. The size of the excavator then dictated them needing to cut a lot of more trees to make space for their massive excavator to do the job. So it's now turning into a second phase of destruction that we're experiencing on our land.
This is what they're supposed to have removed, which they think they've already removed. It's still, you know, further than that of exactly what they think shouldn't be here. It's all back. It seems like a lot of hubris to imagine that you could fix that.
Yeah. Now the area that's been disturbed by the remediation is at least twice the size of the original disturbed area, and they're not done yet. I can't count the number of hours that we've had to be in meetings and, you know, going over legal documents, walking in the woods, flagging trees, monitoring, checking what happens after every rainstorm, reporting to people, etc., etc. It's been significant. You know, even though the individuals at different points along the way have been very conciliatory and, oh, we want to take your needs into account and stuff, but the way that it actually works with all the different entities and all the companies and all the way that they're used to working, etc., what's efficient for them, is the result is that you know, it's a very significant impact on our land and on our lives, and not something that we really signed up for. These companies that come in, this company Dynamic that did the install here, they can make it sound great with their glossy presentation to the town and make it seem appealing, like you're going to get some tax credits to the town or whatever benefits, but they don't live near in Western Mass, they're from another state. They're not going to be able to anticipate every problem that happens. They didn't even follow their own plan. There's so many things that can go wrong, and they don't always do what they say they're going to do. You know, we're pro solar power. You can probably see we have solar panels all over our roof, solar hot water. It just doesn't belong in the woods.